once again, it's a very special day all over the world, and all over the world must understand and know that this very date in Africa, especially a place called the Biafra land, is a date that people will always remember their fallen heroes. When they call their fallen heroes that have stood in the ancient time to defend their fatherland against whatever their ideology was. They were able to stand firm, and many of them lost their lives, which become a jeopardy and also what's called the most crisis upon humanity. We are millions of people, we are lost, souls, children, women, and a lot of people. We are lost in that very one shocking and terrible Holocaust kind of fight that took place in the land of Biafra. So today, God has given us opportunity again in the land of the living to be alive and to also remind ourselves that we are all strangers upon the face of the earth. And we must do everything possible to see how we can better the life of those people who come after us, and also continue to do the right thing at all times. Children of God will always be the people who will always seek peace, and people of God must always be the people who will always stand up for what is right and justice and peace, and making sure that everything they will stand for will be all about what's called how it is going to better the lives of humanity. Somebody was asking major prophet of God, what's the meaning of what's called Biafra, and also what is Biafra all about? And I said, as a young man that was growing, and also by the grace of God, is a conversant with so many things that have happened upon the face of the country, especially the country I come from, and especially the part of the place I come from, and also things that have happened there. I will have an understanding of this. And if you ask me what's Biafra, I will tell you that Biafra is the shortest lived republic in West Africa. When I say shortest lived republic in West Africa, I'm talking about a republic that stayed for 3 good years, that a man called Colonel Otumegu Ojukwu declared Biafra in the year 1967 because of some certain things that have been happening in the country that he did not accept, especially against his people. He stood and said, no, instead of him to cower out, he better declare a republic for his people. And he went ahead and declared this republic, and these people had the country called Biafra. And the Biafra and the declaration of Biafra caused what's called a civil war in Nigeria then. And the civil war claimed the life of so many people, especially the life of children and women. And over millions of people were dead and were killed in that very Holocaust. And then I have another interpretation on how to explain it better so that somebody will understand. Biafra happened to be the rising sun where stars came up and challenged the powers that be upon the face of the earth. Where you see a little group of people called the Biafra was able to produce everything they needed for 3 years. Everything they needed to fight war, they produced themselves. Everything they needed to carry their armories, they produced themselves. The thing they needed to transport themselves from one place to another, they produced themselves. All kinds of equipments and war equipments, they produced them themselves. And because of these triggered the anger of the powers that be, especially the powers of the British and all the world powers then. And many of them came together and said, if you leave these people, these black people are going to rise and they are going to take over power from us. And they get to fight them. It now become the people of Biafra versus the world in a conflict. Because you cannot tell me that it was only Nigerians that fought their war and this damage was caused. No. This war was fought by world powers. And they stood and fought these people, fought them all around, and fought them to a point that these very people could no longer carry what they were going through. And they were all like, oh, how shall we do this? And finally, at the end of it all, their president and the general declared that war should be ceased. And they also surrendered its weapons, that the fight should be over. And the country now settled back, and A lot of the people from that side were reintegrated into the country called Nigeria. And these people were able to go to a stand of now taking all the monies and gave them only 20 pounds. After all the billionaires, all the millionaires, whatever money they have in the bank, all was confiscated, and the 20 pounds was given to everybody that they should go and start life afresh. In this conflict, they declared it no banquet and no days, that meaning that no winner and no loser. And everybody came together and everything became all right and was going. All of a sudden, everything went sour. When the country could no longer manage themselves, that the things began to in a way that everybody now began to go back to what's called tribalism again. And the envy now becomes so much that people were like, oh, where are you from? From this place? Oh, you can't get a job. From this place, you can't join this. From this place, you can't be this. From this place, you can't rule. From this place, you can't go this. From here, you can't go that. This, that. And this alone caused a lot of big brouhaha. And this brouhaha caused the people that are called the people of Biafra to be somehow disenfranchised. And all of us that were growing up was like, oh, this matter is going to be a matter that will be over in a short while. And we were like, oh, let's see how this thing is going to be over in a short while. And we kept on in our way and was also praying and trusting God and believing that one day will come that we will rise again and have peace in our country. But instead of the have peace, it has become pieces. What's the pieces all about? People that are known to farming can no longer go to their farm and farm in peace. People that are known to going into the bush to do one thing or the other cannot go into the bush to do anything anymore. People that were known to interstate, enter vehicle from one state to another, trek from one place to another, ride a bike from one place to another, can no longer go to those places they used to go. And we thought it's a joke. And everything was blamed on the same people called the people of Biafra. That they are the one that caused war. They killed the people. They did that and they did that. Until this year, the secret opened. And the secret that opened, a man who fought the war, who was there life and direct, now confessed in the book and said that all of these things that they said that the Biafran people do, this, that they are exonerated, that they are not the cause of the wars, and confessed everything and all that happened. And yet we are still confused. We could not understand where hatred began to come. That made a lot of people begin to rise, and it got to a stage. The man that took the war and fought that war in defense of his people could no longer continue, but rather joined the system, believing that the system is going to be favorable. The system did not favor him. He did not see what he thought he would have seen in the system. But at the end of it all, what happened? The man of Domegu Ojukwu decided that instead of him to be alive and see all this nonsense and these issues against his people, that he cannot take it anymore, and he decided to sleep and go beyond to join the heroes that defended the land. Now after all said and done, other people rose, and a man called Owasrike rose and did his own. And God was called master for actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra. Movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra. And did all his best and whatever he knows he can do. But at the end of it all, the powers that be went in and one way or the other quenched him there. And everybody lost hope. And the people who are witness of all that happened, they said, no, this thing cannot just die like that. This matter is an ideology, and it's a place and it's a belief of the people, that people believe and see it that way. It's not something they can easily drop like that, except what's called a proper agreement is made. And a young man from the heart of Biafra land, right there in Ibegu, straight away, right there to a place called Abia State, rose up, called Mazi Namundi Onyobioma Kano. rose up and said, no, I cannot take this. I want my people to actualize the shortest lived republic called Biafra. What happened to their currency? What happened to their technology? What happened to their armies? What happened to their people? What happened to their culture? What happened to all of the things that they were known with? And they asked questions, and these questions was not answered. And the young man took up his microphone and took up his telephones and took off his iPad and took off his table and took off his iPhone and took off the tablet and went on air and began to talk to his people, to orientate his people. And he said that freedom is the greatest achievement of every man. And he began to incite many things that has to do with marginalization. But I'm Major Prophet. I don't like to blame any tribe. I like to blame all these things to people who are in hem of affair, who did not sit down and agree on the right way for everybody and children yet unborn. And this man pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and the time came, he was somehow wanted to be completely silenced. But you know, the truth can never be silenced. You can only attack the truth, but you cannot silence the truth. Man sitting on the Kanu stood up with the Biafra and began to, educate his people and begin to open the eye of his people and begin to tell them that this world we are is not the way we think it used to be. Because we think that the world is a place you come and you suffer. Whatever you want, you cannot get it. You struggle and struggle. Hunger will kill you. And at the end of it all, you bide and you go. He said it's not like that. That he has tested many and have traveled abroad and have seen things that a child can actually be born and taken care of by the government. That there's no issue of somebody is a big man and this one is a small man. That all the capability of every individual is dependent on your strength and what you can do or what you cannot do. That is not dependent on how much was embezzled and how much was taken away and your father was not among the people who embezzled the money. That you can actually fulfill your dream if it's a working society where everybody is equal, a place where everybody can be regarded as a human being and not treated as if they are animals. And because of this, the powers that be said, how can somebody come up with this that we have silenced already? And they took him up, they locked him up. At the end of it all, they released him, and they regretted. Why should we release him? Let's end his matter. They came up again, they tried to bind, and they escaped. And at the end of it all, he surfaced again, and they also went far away and bring him back to come and face and suffer what he did not know. But thanks be to Jehovah God who made the heaven and earth, who never fail nor disappoint, that understand what's called the meaning of the place called Biafra and what it all stands for. Thanks be to God that God did not disappoint his people, and God is able to do all of the things he said he will do. And today, God has given the capability, and the matter is already in the court of law to be discussed and also to be tried. Another man all the way right there in Finland called, this was called a name called, this is Simon Ekberg right there in Finland. He came up with his own ideology and did his own part regarding this same Biafra matter. At the end, the powers that be went there and took him up and silenced him, and believing that the chapter is closed. But the major prophet, as a prophet of God who sees it all and by the grace of God knows all the things that the Lord is revealing, has a message. And this very message is a very special message that everybody should be aware of it. And what is the message all about? The message is that you cannot silence an ideology. If you stop me from what I want to do, my children will do that. If you stop my children will do that. If you try to stop them, the one coming after them will do that. Because this was called a DNA. This was called the blood vessel. This was called the bloodline. You cannot erase the bloodline, or you cannot change the DNA. And Lord said that the best way forward is for the country Nigeria to recognize Biafra. To recognize Biafra. And also recognize their people. And discuss a way that they can manage each other and live together. Because it's not only Biafra. I'm also hearing people talking about Odudua. I'm also hearing people talking about Ariwas. I'm also hearing the people that talk about, I say they are the Nigeria. If you like, you take Odudua. You like, you take Biafra. You take Ariwa. That they are the Nigeria. You leave the Nigeria for them. Let them be. If we are going to still stay and be there together, let us live as human and live as brothers. Let us live as people who will always look eyeball to eyeball. Whatever I know I will do to you that will be painful to you, I shouldn't do it. Whatever I know that I will do that is evil, I cannot do it myself. I should not do it to you. And I thought that all of these things are over, that we have integrated together to be living as what's called one Nigeria. I've never seen a country they call one, mention the country name. I've never heard one European nation. I've never heard one Germany. I never heard one Italy. I've never heard one America. I've never heard one India. I've never heard one anything. That means something is hidden there. That's what's called a great injustice going up there and there, here and there, that needed to be attended to as regarding the tribe that is called the people of Biafra. If you like, you take my word as a prophet of God. If you like, you don't take it. But if this matter is not settled amicably, it will never ever quench them. The matter will never stop. Biafra must continue to prevail, and at the end of it all, we come back to live as a republic of its own. I'm giving you as a prophecy, and that is must. That's what the major prophet, I've seen it before. I've seen it and I prophesied it here, and I've said it several times, and I've said it often and often, and I am not afraid to say this because I am a prophet. God will ask me and say, on the last day, did you saw it or you did not? Then I will tell God, I saw it. Why didn't you say it out? I will say, I didn't say it out because I'm ashamed, or because of this, or because of that. And the Bible says, whosoever is ashamed of me in this world, I will be ashamed of him in the years to come, when I will be in my Father's house. So the truth of the matter remains that we should tell ourselves the truth. Are we together or we are against each other? Are we one or we are scattered? And I begin to look at everywhere, and I begin to see that it is time that people struggle only for power. And I said, if it is only for power, let us continue to see whether the power will change. And I thought we have gotten it right when we entered the civilian rule in 1999. President Olusegun Obasanjo. We thought everything is going to be okay and perfect. And before we know it, what the dollar used to be, all of a sudden it went up. All of a sudden some certain things begin to happen and happen and happen. At the end of it all, I said this time around, it is going to inculcate the people of Biafra in fullness. Instead of that to happen, the power was moved to the north. And a man called Yaradua came in with a good heart, a man that is detribalized, a man that is ready to move the country forward, a man that is concerned about what is best for everybody. He left the price of petroleum where he found it and did not do otherwise, but came up with ideas on how to manage the country and take us to next level. And the powers that be say, no, this is not what we want for these people. It's better we take him out. And the Yaradua was taken out by all means. And we cried and said, we thought a man who is detribalized, and a man who understands the governance is right there. What are we going to do? We want to cry. We want to hold ourselves and shake ourselves. And we begin to cry, oh, to a point. They never told us the truth, whether the man is dead or the man is still alive. They hid everything from us. And we were here crying. We have a president, but the president is not on seat. We have a president, but the president is not available. We have a president, but the president is outside the country. We have a president, the president is on the sick bed. Little did we know that that will lead to bigger sick bed. Moved on from that, and all of a sudden, all that happened, and played out, and we went out from that place, and we moved straight away to what's called Goodluck Ebele, Jonathan president. And we thought, oh yeah, this time around the things are going to be okay. Things look as if it's going to be okay, but all of a sudden things begin to coalesce. things began to go up, and things were like, oh, let's see. And all of a sudden, there was a movement all over the place, a rioting here and there, a protest here and there, a people from here and there, a tribe from here and there. They began to all over stage protests everywhere. This man is not doing it well. He's not the right person that should be there. Let's bring a man who can fight corruption. Let's bring a man who can now war against indiscipline. Let's bring a man who knows it all. Let's bring a man who can do this. And ignorantly and somehow everybody rallied around and put hands together. And at the end, Jonathan was thrown away and thrashed out and moved out. And the man entered, and we all were clamoring and shouting, yes, time to stop corruption, time to war against indiscipline, time to make everywhere all right, time to see money. Little did we know that the dollar we were shouting and crying that is in 150 something is going to flew from there. All of a sudden, before we know it, dollar has climbed up. Before we know it, I've got to 400, from 400 to 500, 500 to 700 and above. And it became a crisis. It became an issue. It became a big trouble. It became a big matter. And everywhere we are scrutinized. And everybody were frozen right there. And everybody were squeezed out. And water come out of our eye. Water come from everywhere. Iwele wunu iwele wanyo otani se boganyo change buhari ono iwele wunu iwele wanyo otani se boganyo change buhari ono iwele wunu iwele wanyo otani se boganyo change buhari we must do everything possible. But little did we know that the perilous time shall come. Even though we cannot conclude, but we are still praying that God should change everything so that we can see the change that we are praying for. We are still praying, and we are still on the mountain. And we don't know when we are going to come down from the mountain, and we're not going to know what's going to be the outcome of everything. Major prophet is not bringing all this history for bringing sake, but major prophet, I'm bringing all this history because of what's called the people of Biafra, my fatherland, where I grew up and saw things and how things supposed to be. That by now we ought to begin to compete with all the world powers. We ought to now begin to now produce things that will shock the world. By now we ought to be the best in engineering, the best in mathematics, the best in technology, the best in everything that needed to be discovered on the face of the earth. By now we need to be what's called architectural design that is never seen anywhere in the world or universe at large. By now we ought to be people who have been able to see what's called the heaven and see what's called the earth. But all of these things we have fought against because a lot of people want what's called to make it one Nigeria with what's called insincere heart. Insincerity. Because when it is sincere heart, it will not be called one Nigeria. It will be called the United Nigeria. But when there is what's called ulterior motive, you will be hearing one Nigeria. Are we truly one? We are one. But the happenings is what is called Maramananihu Bampitinazu. Ebere mebore mundi mado bampiti nazu ebere mebore mundi mado bampiti banti ebere mebore mundi mado bampiti nazu ebere mebore mundi mado bampiti nazu ebere mebore mundi mado bampiti nazu ebere mebore mundi mado the meaning of Biafra. And a lot of youth of nowadays have looked up to their politicians. Politicians betray them. How do you describe that a state that is receiving about 30-something billion in a month cannot have what's called critical infrastructure? A state that is having what's called 50 billion and above in a month cannot have power or steady electricity. How do you say that a state that is having what's called several billions as a location to them cannot create employment for their citizens? And the people have seen all of these things, and people are troubled and worried, and everybody is looking for the Messiah that God is going to use to remedy the people, the black people, and especially the people, Biafra people, from this very menace. Because a wise man cannot condole injustice, cannot condole foolishness, cannot condole marking time, cannot condole shame, cannot condole frustration, cannot condole marking time without moving forward. Right now, we are still in the game. And there's a promise and there's a hope that there's going to be a change. But Major Prophet, I have not seen the change. I have to be honest. I have to be sincere. Major Prophet, I'm waiting for this change where we cannot see that youth are employed. If it got to a point that even me as a man of God can out of the altar move and start creating little employment to get people employed and gainfully employed, to get something doing. Even as a man of God, that my duty is to only stay indoor and pray prayer. And now moving off my hook to do little things for people to get employed. Then what is the excuse that a politician is given to me? What's the excuse that the people on the hem of Akaya are given to me? What's the excuse that the people who are on top and also privileged are given to me? The excuse to me is a crap. This was called a trash excuse. You can't give me such excuse. The only excuse that Major Prophet can take is when you tell Major Prophet of God that, oh, you have done your best, and the people refuse to do. Then Major Prophet can hear you. But nothing is done, and you want Major Prophet to hear you. Major Prophet will not hear. And so that is why I said, my own time, God will show us mercy. In our own time, God will make a way where there's no way. In our own time, we must be free from every bondage, from every shackle, from every oppression, from every manipulation. I need you, wherever you're watching me, to say this message. I will never be in bondage. I will never be bound. I am out of every bondage. I am out of every manipulation. I am out of every persecution of the enemy. For we have escaped. You have escaped. We all have escaped. Can you declare that on the comment section? As the Lord begin to bless you, the Lord begin to make a way for your family, the Lord begin to make you the head, you begin to declare it. I am the head. I have escaped. I am free. I've gotten my freedom. Our freedom is assured, for the Lord who is in heaven liveth. The Lord will never change. The Lord will never fail. He knows it all. I am in the hand of the Lord, and the will of God and the will of God only will it be accomplished in my life. For God is God and God is not a man. Let the will of God be done. We will never stop in prayers until we have seen the hand of the Lord prevail upon the face of the earth. For we are free, we are delivered, we are liberated, we are out of the hands of the wicked. We have escaped from every manipulation. For our God liveth forever. Our God is a God forever and ever. His help has come from above. His help has come from above. The help of the Lord has come for us. The strength of the Lord has carried us through. The grace of God is sufficient, for the will of God is accomplished. Evil will never rule the good things. Righteousness will exalt a nation. And whatever reproach is a reproach. I decree and I declare the righteousness of the Lord will see us through in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Let the glory of God, let the grace of God, let the love of God, let the power of God, let the presence of God, let the mighty hand of God prevail in your life and prevail in all our lives. That which God has destined for us, no man shall take it away. No power shall take it away. Because of this, I have seen what's called the pillars and the people who are called the brightest and the rising sun of the world, or with Africa, in West Africa. The very short republic, Biafra,